November, December is the time at BW Businessworld where we have our annual B School issue. And that's the time of the year when I'm lured to pursuing MBA. After today's discussion, I think I'll have one more round with my parents today. But, as a journalist here, I cover a lot of industrial sectors. Education is something that I not cover here as a journalist. But whenever there's an event, I make sure that I get some panels, some industry, some discussion with these professors. Because at the end of the day, who we are, what we are is because of our institutions, be it schools, colleges, and based on what we had, the experience there, through these discussions, through these dialogues, we try to improve and build that better for our future generations. Now coming back to our topic, where we are discussing classroom to careers, right? I graduated a few years back from the Indian Institute of Mass Communication, New Delhi. And on the last day, we were having a photo in the campus ground with our course director. And that's, a 10, 11-month course. It's a short course, but given the alumni that institute has given, it's in high demand always. So my course director said that जितना मैंने पढ़ा दिया वो ठीक है, जो नहीं पढ़ा पाई वो अपनी पहली नौकरी में जाकर सीख लेना. And that is what, when I went to the field, a lot of things were different. And I think this is same across industries for students, not just for the journalism profession, given the dynamism that the world's political landscape, economic landscape has. And panelists, in your first opening comments, I want to understand that how do you envision this journey of a student from a classroom to their careers, given this dynamism? Some students are able to adopt to the changes, most do not, at least in my understanding. Dr. Chaturvedi, if you would like to begin.
As has been said by the keynote speaker during the address delivered by him, management education has its own distinctiveness, and it is required to change according to the fast changes taking place in the industry, business, society, and geopolitical global level. So I think this is very challenging task before B schools, that they have to understand first, then they have to train the faculty, they have to change the curriculum, and certain changes are also needed to modernize the curriculum and pedagogy simultaneously. So I would like to say that campus to career, this is a very relevant issue before the B schools as well as for the recruiters. Recruiters have been complaining in India and worldwide that they are getting students from top B schools, but they are not industry ready. And they need to be given training, exposure to contemporary practices of the industry and the challenges faced by the industry, and it takes a lot of time and money to be spent on their retraining. So when they have spent 2 years in the campus, why industry recruiters should spend further on them and they should not deliver from the day one? So industry is asking for the management graduates who are industry ready, who can create value, deliver value from the day one. And this is very challenging and difficult because there is a disconnect between the contemporary changes, structural changes happening in the business at global level and whatever is being taught in B schools in general. There can be some B schools in India who are occupying top positions in our management education. They might have introduced certain courses, curriculum. They might have thought about the skills and competencies which are required by the recruiter, but in general, we are lacking. I am speaking for the B schools community, for the country, that we have to be in sync with whatever is happening in the business and community and also in the society, that changes taking place are very fast. If you are lagging behind, you will not be able to groom business ready, industry ready graduates. And this requires lot of thinking on the part of the B school leaders, and they need to be aware about all the changes. Particularly, I would like to say during last 2-3 years, lot of changes have taken place, lot of new challenges have been come on the priority of B schools, that is global warming, geopolitical scenario, disruptive technology, economic inequality, polarization in the society. All these issues are disrupting or creating trouble for the business and society. So we need to incorporate these changes into curriculum. We have to train our faculty.
Very rightly put, Dr. Chaturvedi. Professor Sai, your thoughts on how you envision this journey in this dynamic environment?
So, I'm a marketing professor, so I will start off by defining it in terms of how we should be thinking about the different constituencies who are going out into the industry, right? There are different segments. So the first segment is, let's say, fresh bachelor degree people who are coming into the MBA program or equivalent and are doing a 2-year program. And then there is maybe people with 2 years experience who come into the system, but in my book, 0 to 2 years is essentially the same. And then there are people who are, let's say, 4, 5 years and more who are coming into the system. So the PGPX programs, some of the online PGDM that MDI does, for example, the NMP or the BM program that we call National Management Program, those are for the 4 and 6 year. PGPX at Ahmedabad, for example. So these are the ones which have people with experience. Now, if we take, let me summarize it as just 2 groups, 0 to 2 and 3 years of experience, where people are coming in with a certain kind of background, and then 4, 5 and above, where they have substantial experience. Now, what does industry ready mean for people who are 0 to 3 years of experience? They don't really understand how industry works. They don't have sufficient experience, either no experience or not sufficient experience. So how can I make them industry ready? I can make them industry ready in 2 ways. One is that I can give them some particular vocational tools. I train them in the use of chat GPT for particular industries so that they become kind of prompt engineers in a management sense, and they are able to do the work more efficiently as an analyst or as marketing manager, digital marketing manager. They're able to do work more efficiently. So there I'm training a technician. Or I could train them to be a kind of person who is able to grasp the concept of how industry works in structural terms, in organizational terms, and in technology terms, human behavioral terms. And when he goes into the organization, he is better prepared to understand how the organization works, even though he or she may not have the technical tools to hit the ground running. So I would actually argue to you that when industry says that, I don't have industry ready people who are freshers or 2 years of experience, I think if we listen to them completely, we will end up becoming vocational schools, and that's not the equivalent of ITIs for management. Now, if we want to be the equivalent of ITIs for management, why not? Maybe there is a place for that, and maybe some MBA schools should become ITIs for management. But if management schools are aspiring to provide managers above a certain caliber who can start out at a higher level, then some of the stuff that we are doing, not all of it, there is scope for change. Some of the stuff that we are doing would need to, is already relevant, and some things need to change for them to be industry ready. So that's about the freshers to 2 or 3 years. What can I change in the classroom or on the campus? In India, I think we can change the way we engage with the classroom. I think IIM Ahmedabad has already followed the flipped model for 50, 60 years, except that it was called case discussion earlier. Now it is called something else. You can bolt on technology on top of that. You bring chat GPT on top of that into the classroom. In the classroom, you ask people to generate a first cut answer to a question that's already there, and while they are there in the classroom, they generate a first cut answer to the question that is going to be discussed, and then from there the discussion starts. One of my colleagues, I think either it was Professor Pawan Singh, who made the comment earlier that, what is the role of the teacher in the classroom? What is he actually doing if the content is already there? The reality is that the teacher is helping people to learn how to think critically. That's the best thing that we can do if we want to provide people who can add long-term value to industry, right? Stanford University had a curriculum review about 5-6 years ago where the business school I'm talking about, where after a whole bunch of work, they said, okay, what we are going to teach is critical thinking. I think that's the best thing that we can do for our students if we want them to be at that level, not technicians, but managers and leaders. So that's one part for this set of people who are, 2 to 3 years of experience or less or no experience. The other guys who are sufficient experience to understand what is an organization at some level, either explicitly or implicitly, they understand how an organization works, and they already have developed some tools and skills. They have some technical skills that the organization finds useful. So what does industry ready for them mean? How can we add to their level of industry readiness? So again, if I take the PGPX program at IIM Ahmedabad or Bangalore or Calcutta, the NMP program at MDI Gurgaon, what is it that we are adding value to increase their industry readiness? For these guys who are already trained in particular skill sets, they understand one part of the organization. Increasingly what is happening is that people are getting specialized very early. And if you want them to grow up into leaders, they need to be able to appreciate other parts of the organization also. And so it's almost as if there is a T that they need to understand. So all the disciplinary areas of management they need to be able to understand. More importantly, they need to be able to make connections between the different areas for a problem that a particular company is facing. So for example, if I look at the largest excavator company in this country right now, it's a British company which produces all these machinery. So they have value addition from the beginning of the supply chain, upstream supply chain, downstream, and they have automated quite substantially, so a lot of it is online. My colleague from Shillong was talking about the fact that it's all digital, right? There is very little paper, so they have kind of digitized over a period of time. Now they're trying to assess how much is the value add, what is the increase of the efficiency that has taken place because of this automation or digitization of the entire supply chain. And the purpose of that is to be able to then figure out what more can be done to, given the business objectives that are there. Now that requires both abilities. You need to have that T. You need to understand that upstream to downstream, you are going to look at multiple disciplines: supply chain, sourcing, downstream distribution, marketing, production and operations management, quality management. All of those are there. So you need to be able to see that in its totality and integrate. And you need to understand the technology, so you need to have a depth in technology. This is the ERP process that I am deploying, and this is how I extract information from the technology, and this is how it has improved my business process so that the value add in that chain is better. Now, this is the kind of value add that we should be adding to people who are 5 to 10 years of experience for the schools that have the program that we are looking at. And if we can do that, then we are adding to that industry ready part. One other dimension that I want to kind of, I don't know how many industry people are present here, I wish that there were a larger number, is that as educators, I think we need to be very clear that we are a distinct segment as compared to government and business. Business has its own agenda, government has its own, I think agenda is not the right word, has its own purpose, business has its own purpose, government has its own purpose, and the educational institutions have their own purpose. And it is up to us to kind of define what that purpose is so that when we send out people for careers into businesses or government, they are able to create that value over there. And coming back to what we talked about a little earlier, the best value creation is when you are able to teach people how to learn, and that comes through developing the power of critical thinking. One of the things that I tell my students is, I'm not teaching you marketing or international business or international economics, which is the subject. I'm actually teaching you how to think through a situation. So 10 years from now, you're not going to remember this particular idea because it's for now. But 10 years from now, you will still be able to walk into a situation, look at the data, look at information, and then understand what needs to be done. And that was what will distinguish you from any other graduate of any other institution.
Right. Thank you, Professor Sahay. Very comprehensively put and quite a focus on technology there. Dr. Patro, what would you like to add to what Professor Sahay said? How do you envision this journey when we're talking about industry readiness from classroom to the respective careers of students?
In B schools, largely we've been following the US content. There is very little content of Europe in our Indian B schools. From the prescribed books to all the models, largely 90% of it is from America. Only, I would say in the domain of management, in the last 10 years, Indian faculty have started to spend more time on research. So there is some content being generated about India, the more case studies, some new business models. At least researchers are attempting to understand it, which was not the case. We will simply pick up models and rush them in the classes. So coming to the curriculum, I will have two components. One is the classroom, outside the classroom, or campus to career. In the classroom part, most of the courses, we have the traditional, if it is marketing from Kotler to Robbins and OB, the standard material, American stuff, which has become part of any top B school's curriculum. There we need to have a higher integration of services, digital and startup in terms of every course, whether it is a first course of OB or it is first course of marketing or first course of information systems. More of services, because all the content is geared towards industrial, the industrial era, all those concepts that come in, we are speaking more of it, but it is more of services, and as Professor Bharat mentioned, out of the top 10, 7 are digital. And in the Indian context, the digital takes greater space. All our youngsters, they are more keen to get into digital rather than conventional, which may not be the case in other parts, because digital has given them a huge fillip in their growth. Besides these three, the other contents were, the ethics and the sustainability part. Every course, it can't be done in one course. Being the oldest B school in the country, XLRI started in 1949. In the 1980s, we had a course on managerial ethics. We were one of the first to start sustainability course in 2005. We were the first B school to sign the Global Compact. Maybe being a private B school, the moment we see certain changes happening in the environment, we move little faster. So in each course, in fact, we have a debate, we have a course on managerial ethics and sustainability, but those are not enough. Given the current situation, the volatile markets, it's not the content, but how they would think in situations, and taking a decision. We are preparing them to be leaders, not to be analysts. And I entirely echo your statement about are we there to be the ITIs of the management. Technique is something that would last for some time, but a way of thinking is something that as teachers we cultivate in the classrooms. So in other words, faculty have a greater role, the challenge is not to just share content, but the students see faculty as role models in how they negotiate between different challenges that are posed to them. Because the students come prepared with as we say, whatever is the topic for the session today, they'll go to ChatGPT and they'll have 7 questions. And one of them, they would raise it, and it is our job to ensure that a proper discussion happens and we move to the next level. The second part is more of experiential learning, more number of projects, more of the rural immersion, or what we call, we had a 3-day program for every student to go to the rural, and you'll be shocked to know 80-90% of them, for them it is the first experience.
Right.
And they come back and they are charged up, and many of them want to go. In fact, we have made arrangements for those who are interested to make the second visit.
Right.
I'll come back again.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Especially on the experiential part, we'll come back again. But Dr. Iyengar, currently, the crux of the discussion that we are seeing is, it's working. It's gauging the industry readiness. Now, often the question is asked to educators how they can align their curriculum to meet the industry expectations, right? And later on in the day, we also have industry people coming on telling their expectations. But how does the industry also in turn collaborate to understand and to tell B schools as to how they can mold the students? How do you see that interface? Any model that you are following, or anywhere from which you are inspired and that you want to implement, if you can share on that?
Thank you for the wonderful question. The reason why I said, after I took over a director, last 2 years, we could able to train 2,000 plus industry professionals at mid-level and senior level. Out of 2,000, 1,400 people only bankers, chief and AGM level 3 to 7. And today if we talk about, it's only a perception. When Bhaskarji said alliances, we teach strategic alliance, we talk about customer value, customer lifetime value, customer acquisition value. I will tell you how I replicated in our business school with having 5 faculties. FMS has more faculty, better infrastructure than Bajaj. I run institute with 5 faculty with 3 floors. But how I could able to revenue generation few crores, 0 to few crores, without using my infrastructure, using their industry. I'll tell you how I had done that. When I see that just reinventing business model, again Bhaskarji mentioned, definitely my customer is a student. There is no second thought. We always focus on customer is a student. They pay money, we have to take care of student. There is no second thought or argument. But I also feel my customers are industry. Because what I feel, now I am seeing industry is a customer, I will say my MBA student as a product. So that what happened, I focus more on core product, I can able to extend it more on byproducts more. That will become, I'll tell you what it means that. We have 30 students, MHRD students. The course we started 2 years before. What I have done, hardly the course is 2 months we started, invited 20 CHROs. And I created a content called something like a research paper and seminar paper. Calling a one day, became a guest faculty, giving a placement brochure. Every B school does it. But what I do them, I engage them. How I engage them, I'll tell them, this research paper, seminar paper, you bring your industry practice, what is your problem? I can give 2 students, you can mentor them. I don't give summer project and final. Anyway, they get with the paid, they'll convert. But day 1 onwards, they are engaged in the entire process. That CHRO come with certain issues. Then we always give value creation to them. How we give value creation? Trust me, 1,200 people only from one nationalized bank. One bank we train 1,200 people, more than 30 batches of 50 each, every week, last 1 year, in their infrastructure, in there. But how I have done that? I have 95% visiting faculties, one of the best alumni. And Bajaj surveys on that model, so I try to leverage their experiences. When I went to the company, I tell them, what is your problem? Can I able to address it? I don't want business, I don't want money. How can I able to engage you in that? What happening is my faculty goes to corporate and try to teaching that particular domain, become an expert. What is the outcome of it? Trust me, apart from additional income, articles, research paper, publication, patent, case studies. Faculty is also getting leverage. Apart from teaching to the student, when they see the corporate, they could able to bring that. As an institute, additional revenue. Over and above, my students are getting hands-on exposure, and these companies, trust me, we have done the training program is a one part. The discussions are moving such a way, we can get endowment fund. Alumni were engaging that activity, and I don't have a multiple companies, but being advantage of financial capital, very good rich alumni, we can able to leverage that. And when I bring it to the classroom, trust me sir, we don't pay a high payment to the faculties, but still I have 100 faculties with me. You know why? I focus on value. I means since traditional that institute is not volume, it's a value player. We created a value, try to position it in the market. Out of 1 lakh application, 120 students. And in fact, I restrict the company, don't come to the campus more. This year is a little bit different, but the value creation from day one onwards. Students know what they have to be there after 2 years.
Right.
And industry needs that. They said, can you able to give it to them? That is the value creation what we try to do.
Right. So clearly the focus on value creation. Dr. Chaturvedi, if you would like to add something to that on the models that you are seeing.
I have to make one of my observations that to prepare students which are ready for the industry from the day one, or those who can be lifelong learner by developing their skills and competencies even after graduating from a B school. Because the skills and competencies are changing very fastly, industry requirements are changing very fastly. Whatever is being taught in a B school will not help them to survive in the industry for long. So they need to train themselves, they need to be a lifelong learner. This is one observation I would like to give. Secondly, what should be the ideal curriculum and what should be fast changes to be made in the curriculum? This is being done by B schools at individual level. But what about the role of the industry? Because the trained management graduates are serving the need of the industry. What industry is telling to the B schools or higher education institutions that what kind of skill sets they require, what kinds of leadership skills they require, what kind of technical computational skills they require, because there is no forum and there is no structured way. Whenever the companies are, suppose my B schools, more than 100 companies are coming, if we press them, they are giving their feedback about the preparedness of our students very casually. After completing the selection process, they hardly have time to stay in the campus. They do not want to give any feedback in writing. Just they speak orally and give some tidbits of their feedback. What industry bodies are doing, like FICCI, CII, National HRD Network, NASSCOM, these industry bodies are representing large number of companies. They have never held discussion with B schools or higher education leaders that what kind of curriculum should be delivered by them so that the management graduates prepared by B schools, they are industry ready. So I would like to say that industry will not come to you to ask you what kind of curriculum is required by the recruiter. You have to go to the industry, and all B schools are doing in one or the other way. My B schools is doing for last 15 years. We have industry advisory body not only for all 4 programs which we are offering, but we are also having industry advisory body for all the areas. We have 8-9 areas, and we are holding the meetings not only in Delhi. We are going to different metro cities of the country to ask the questions which faculty have in their mind, that what should be taught and what kind of changes should be made in the curriculum continuously. So my big challenge is how to understand the exact or the changing need of the recruiter if they are not coming forward.
Very rightly put, Dr. Chaturvedi. So Professor Sahay, clearly, a lack of what the inputs from the industry are. As Dr. Chaturvedi pointed out, what would you like to add on this thing?
So I think Dr. Chaturvedi hit the nail on the head when he said that it is up to us to go out and talk to industry, and most business schools, including MDI Gurgaon, have some processes in place. So some of the rhetoric that we hear is exactly that, rhetoric, but there is some reality also that we need to be able to increase the level of engagement and make that feedback loop a little more powerful, a little more nuanced, so that it is able to do things faster in real time rather than take a longer time. So there are 2 things that I would share from our experience at MDI. So for example, there is for the national security, cyber security governance framework, for the country. Now, there is a ongoing initiative where there is a couple of professors at MDI, IIT Kanpur, and the Ministry of Home Affairs that's actually working to create that national security, cyber security governance framework, and some of that is now feeding back into the courses at the MBA level, the PGDM level, and those students who will go through that will hopefully be a little bit more prepared on that, because that's clearly a very, very relevant area for all sorts of companies. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're a software company or a regular company. If there is a cyber breach, then your operations can be really severely affected. So those kind of collaborations between the faculty of management institutions and the government in this case can actually make graduates more industry ready and more government ready also, for that matter. Similarly, one could collaborate with companies where companies support different activities, including research, including curriculum development. So many institutions that are represented here have these centers of research that are happening on their campuses, where the existing model, the model is that you not only help to support the research of PhD students, but you also do projects for industry. IIM Ahmedabad has it at MDI Gurgaon. Also, we are setting up a center, 2 centers, one in the area of behavioral science and neuroscience and applications in business, the other in the area of artificial intelligence and machine learning and its applications in business. So both of these are designed to engage with industry, to get industry feedback into the research process, and therefore the faculty knowledge development, and then the idea is that that will feed back into the classroom and so therefore impact careers. I think if we are able to scale that, then it will be of benefit to everyone, to the students, their careers, to the faculty, to the institutions. And the good news, I think, is that over the last 20 years or so, there has been a substantial increase in the level of engagement. Compared to 2004, when I came back into the country, by the late 2010s, 2017, 18, 19, the level of engagement was definitely increasing. And I think the trend is upwards, and if we continue to see that trend, I think further good things will happen.
Thank you, Professor Sahay. Dr. Patro, you know, since we're focusing on classroom as well, I want to understand your views also on soft skills. And, you know, as Dr. Chaturvedi also pointed out, fostering an attitude of continuous learning for students who are entering the workforce. How do you see these two aspects?
Yeah, in fact, you know, we are not preparing our students to be technocrats, to be proficient in certain techniques. They need to move to the next level of leadership, from managers to leaders. Because in today's context, most of the students have an inclination to join the startups. And this leadership element gets pronounced, emphasized very early in their career. Which in the earlier era, one would reach there after 15-20 years and they would observe other leaders. So therefore, the importance of soft skills like the interpersonal skills, listening, and showing empathy, all those need to be emphasized inside the class. I would say one of the challenges before B schools in the last 7-8 years, especially you know, with increased emphasis on research, most of the youngsters, they spend all their time on research, and teaching has taken a backseat. We are observing that, you know, and in the institutes, you know, for their own reason, allocate greater emphasis on research, and you know, in the process, are we diluting our main mandate of preparing them to be industry ready? Because it's about you know, the passion for teaching, bringing in stuff from the local environment and making them think about it. The more, you know, time they spend on research, a couple of A or B, A or A star journals, and looking at American problems, 30 papers, and finding a research gap. So that's an area where I'm sure the leaders of the B schools need to focus their mind upon. The second part is this, the critical pedagogy. Are our all teachers ready for critical pedagogy? You know, it is more prescriptive when we say, suppose we talk about the marketing product life cycle. Product life cycle does this, and these are the different stages, and these are the applications. But what is its relevance? You know, in terms of content, raising questions about the relevance of the concept. You know, it's not that the concept is given and it has to be applied. Okay? So therefore, for every content, there has to be a counter content presented in the sessions, which would make the students apply their mind and think what is right. That so that critical pedagogy need to be cultivated, nurtured by each faculty. That would make the students more discerning. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Iyengar. You would like to add on this, on these aspects of soft skills and fostering?
I feel as a end of the day, as a B school, we have to train, whether it's a business school or corporate. And today, if we talk about, take example, Luxottica, that one company manages 60% of the market share of the optical brand. Whether you can go to low price brand to premium brand. Same thing like a Swatch group, whether it's a Swatch or Tiger or Tissot or Rado or Calvin Klein or Harris Winston. Same thing happening with Amazon also. Earlier I used to go to Amazon using Paytm by watching Amazon Prime with a 5 different. But today the market is changing. That's what everybody is today talking about. We have to reinvent our business model. As a business school, we should have the capability and competency to cater the structure, what is required in the market. Whether it's online or offline, whether it's a hard skill or soft skill, which is required, that is what we have to do. We know how to balance our resources. Based on the requirement, we have to change. Change is the one thing remain constant. If we don't change, if we are a management institute, if we don't able to adapt the change, then who will do it? Because we are creating the future manager. It is our part of the onus, it is our part of our responsibility to react to the change faster than the industry, what we talk about shelf life of less than 2 decades. Thank you.
Right. Dr. Chaturvedi, something that I would like to ask you, and this is something that I'm picking up from the social media, and of course Dr. Iyengar also briefly touched upon, that given the scenario of internship and apprenticeship this year, what's your reading on the environment, right? And how, obviously, we would have talked about the role that they play for their readiness, but what's your reading on this, given this year's?
Social media, as well as on the traditional print media, there are reports that the top institutions are facing some difficulty for providing summer internship with good stipends, and even in the final placement, the placements are not happening at a fast pace. There is some slow trends in the final placement also. I would like to say that B schools will have to adopt some out-of-box thinking about providing internship and final placement to the students. We are all focused on the top companies, multinational companies offering good packages, because that is the criteria which students are looking for before joining the B school, that which B school is providing highest maximum salary or average salary. So I would like to say that at least for internship, there can be some alternatives to the traditional path we are following. Like students can go and work on some innovative government scheme. Whether the several schemes launched by the central government and state governments for the welfare of the masses or for easing of doing business are working properly or not. So this can be one area. Secondly, it can be any project going to the countryside and looking into the entrepreneurial activities they are happening, like self-help groups, like farmers cooperative societies, like non-farm entrepreneurship. There are many trends which are happening in the Bharat, but we are only confined to metros, companies located in metros and offering the jobs in metros. So I think we need to expand the horizon of the placement. I was reading a case study from a university of USA, University of Houston. There is a C.T. Baur College of Business. They are sending their students for internship to a accelerator. So, asking students to go to incubators, there are 60 plus Atal incubation centers. Their total number in India is around 1,000. So, we need to send our students to those incubation centers. We need to send them to accelerators. And we need to send them to the countryside to see actually what is happening in the economic lives of the people residing. Large number of more than 70% population is living either in villages or tier 2 or tier 3 cities. So I think it is not necessary that we should, and even the companies would like to recruit those students who can go to any challenging assignment or any challenging summer internship and bring some data about the current realities of life and business. So let us think about changing the mold of providing summer internship. Traditional way will not work, and all students cannot be provided internship in top-notch companies or multinational companies.
Thank you, Dr. Chaturvedi. Professor Sahay, your quick take on the scenario this year and what has become a talking point on social media?
So these things run in cycles, so I'm not too concerned. This year will be a slightly tougher year compared to other years, and things will move back. But I just want to pick up on a point that Dr. Chaturvedi just made, that can we change the structure a little bit so that people are more industry ready. So one model that some business schools have started following is that for a 2-year program, you actually do coursework only for the first year. The second year is actually you are spending with a company. In one case, you are spending 6 months with one company and 6 months with another company. And it's part of the responsibility of the program to help the student locate that match so that internships are for 6 months and 6 months or even for 1 full year. So that becomes a fairly good place for students and the candidate to understand one another and make that choice. So this is actually happening now. The other second point that I want to very quickly pick up on is, Arjun, is the point that Dr. Patro was making on more local cases. So I believe now we are doing much more. We have a much higher level of local cases which are available and we can use. I'm pretty sure faculty at all our institutions are writing those cases. And the last point that I want to kind of quickly touch on is in the context of classroom to career is ultimately I would completely agree with Professor Srinivasan when he says that, well, one part of what he said is that who is the customer? Is it the student or is it the industry? And is the student a product? So one viewpoint would be that the industry is the customer and our student is our product. The other viewpoint would be that the student is the customer and not the industry. So if we think of industry as our product, as our customer, and the student as our product, then our approach will be different if we think of the student as a customer, which personally, if you ask me personally, I don't really feel comfortable with. I think industry is our customer rather than the student. And that is consistent with our ethos also. And education as a product, actually, you cannot provide the best product if the student just goes there and sits and says, okay, I'm opening my head, it's your responsibility to put stuff in there. That doesn't work. That's because education as a product doesn't work like that. So I think if we keep these in mind, we are flexible, we are nimble, we keep changing, we know who our customer is, and we are able to make those structural changes. We are going to be okay. The MBA degree in India is probably safe for another 10, 15 years for the top 20, 30 schools. Uske baad, you can see the beginning of that already happening. You will have these much more specialized programs, MBA in data science or MBA in marketing or MBA in finance and so on. That's already happened in the US, by the way. Schools like Harvard and Stanford are having problems in getting applications for their full-time MBA programs. If Harvard and Stanford can have that problem, then the degree is having a problem. So that's where we are, in my opinion.
Right. Dr. Patro, Dr. Iyengar, we have around 1 minute left. Your concluding comments very quickly on this.
When we are trying to make our students ready for the industry, the new age industries, part of their requirement has to be addressed in certain specific courses. We can't have our conventional content and asking the students to do a project and adapt to the requirement of the industry. So therefore, the idea of what Professor Sahay mentioned, the AI, ML or the chat GPT, what we are saying, having a center and getting the input from the, in fact for AI, we are talking with the top firms of the world to set up their centers in our institute to see, to bridge that gap between what they are thinking and the current focus of our teaching. There is always a tussle that I see. Many a times faculty would say these are the core things that students need to learn, and if we spend little more on adaptation, it is a dilution. But there has to be a finer balance between what is required and how do we keep the core fundamentals delivered to the students while they think of applying it to certain industries. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Patro. Dr. Iyengar, very quickly, your concluding comments.
Concluding, market is big. Everybody has the market for their own, whether it's a Mini Cooper or Wagoner. Everybody will survive. 140 crore population.
10 years, he has said 10 years.
10 years. So that we'll survive. With the God grace, India country is blessed. After 10 years, I feel one more great opportunity because of NEP, I'm getting sensitization. Because integrated course, BBA will get, graduate course will sell more. Maybe that executive MBA will become a game changer in the long run.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we please have a big round of applause for all our panelists? Thank you so much for joining.